Hello, YouTube/Tumblr, wherever you're watching this. I am Tom. I am the boy who fangirled. This is my first video on Sky High, which is the channel you're watching. Yeah, it's me and Jenna's channel. We're starting this just for fun, you know. I'm going to be hopefully consistently posting videos on Saturdays. I cannot guarantee that consistency because I live in a house where it's very hard to get time to make videos like this, so I might just film whatever and then post on Saturdays. Anyway, for my first video, I wanted to do something where you can kind of get to know me, you know, personally. But I didn't really want to do just a about me, random list of facts, anything like that, so I'm going to tell you some stories. For any of you who know me, acting is a huge passion in my life, and I live for it, and it's what makes me happy, it's what I want to do with my life, you know, all of that. So I'm going to tell you my acting stories. I've been in, I want to say, 7 shows before, and I have funny stories from all of them, of course. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with my first show and work my way up to my most recent show. My first show was Annie Jr., technically, back in 7th grade. I had 3 parts. I wasn't that good back then at all, by any means. I was Bundles McCloskey, the laundryman, Bert Healy, the radio guy, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the cripple. I mean the president. And so my story for Annie is I was Bundles McCloskey. It was, I want to say, the first night. And for the scene where Annie makes her breakout from the orphanage, where she climbs in the laundry cart and then gets pushed out, our cart was like a grocery cart that the teacher actually stole from Ralph's. And we covered it with rags and stuff, you know, make it look like laundry. One of the rags, when I was on stage, fell out of the cart and got caught up in one of the wheels. I didn't notice at first, so I started pushing the cart. And it was just slowly sliding along, and it wasn't really going anywhere. And I couldn't figure it out. And then by the time I noticed, the wheel was already completely wrapped in rags, so I couldn't get it undone. So I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I get to the side of the stage. It took a solid, like, 60 seconds of just awkward guy just sliding a cart along, and I was weak. I'm still really skinny, you can see, but like I was even scrawnier back then. And you know, the girl in there, I don't want to say she was fat, she wasn't, but she wasn't like a twig. So I was having some trouble pushing her, because it wasn't like it was wheels, it was just sliding. And it kind of got to a point at the very end when I got to the very side of the stage where instead of pushing forward, I was putting so much force into it, it kind of just flipped up and over, and she flew off the stage, and I had to run out of the theater at that point, both because I didn't want to laugh backstage and because I didn't want to get killed backstage. So that's Annie. Next, later that year, I did a melodrama called The Paper Bag Bandit Strikes Again. And this is a story of how I got $20 and nearly got suspended. So for half the show, it's like dinner theater, but that's not the actual show. There's dinner that's served, and then there's like songs and dances and stuff just going on. It's like a Western melodrama. I don't know if you know about those, but that's what it was like. And when you weren't part of the acting, you switched every night. You would be a waiter. And for the first couple nights, waiters were allowed to take tips. But a couple of the waiters started putting, "We accept tips, please give us tips," and stuff like that on their name tags. So our teacher banned them and threatened anyone who was asking for tips with suspension. I'm not sure why. And last night, I did a really good job waiting. I'm a nice guy. I don't know, I'm good with people in a sense. I'm not good with people in general, but when it's like something like that, you know, I'm good. I'm a nice person. I can deal with people somewhat well in that sense. I can't really explain that well. But so this family insisted on giving me $20 as a tip. And I was like, I can't accept tips. I'm sorry. You're really nice, but I can't. And they kept pushing on me. And I was like, fine, okay, I'll just take it and don't say a word. So I shove it in my pocket and I'm walking out. And my teacher looks like she's going to stop me and yell at me, but she loved me, so she didn't. But, yeah, so that was an interesting thing. I felt kind of bad after that because I was like breaking the law. Let's see. Next, first show of 8th grade was the Shakespeare play A Midsummer Night's Dream. I got a lead role, sort of. I was Demetrius, one of the star-crossed lovers. Okay. Sorry, my dog was doing something. And I was, my story. Okay, so the day of one of my shows, I got a concussion. The story's not important because I'm so embarrassed by it. I got a concussion, and I wasn't technically allowed to be in the show that night. But I begged my teacher. She finally let me. And I was going great. I was feeling kind of sick. You know, my head really hurt, and my head would hurt really bad because I had a huge bump on the back of my head. Didn't even cross my mind that I had a stage combat scene in that show. So at one point, I'm on the ground wrestling with a guy, and I roll over, and the back of my head just slams on the ground, and I almost white out from pain. Like, everything just goes white, and I'm like almost about to cry on stage. But I pull it off, get through the show, don't die, don't pass out, and got an award for stealing the show that night. So, boom. And anyone who makes any excuse for not going on with the show, tell them that story, because they can't top that. Unless, like, they can. In which case, I'm so sorry. Anyway, next show was Babes in Arms, possibly one of my favorite shows of all time that I've ever been in. This is already a 6-minute long video. I won't go past 10 minutes, I promise I'll try to keep it short. I'm bad when I get to rambling. So during part of the show, or part of our stage, we had a wheelchair lift attached to the front of the stage. This was at middle school, so, you know, not the greatest. Everything's got squashed together, it's not a big deal. Not a great stage. But we decided to utilize that, so I had to stand in it. I was the protagonist, or antagonist, sorry, Lee Calhoun, angry Southern playwright, and I was standing in the wheelchair lift, staring at what was going on stage, kind of like spying, you know? And I hit a button in there, and we didn't know what it was, but suddenly there's this loud, constant, piercing beep, just going through the whole theater. We couldn't shut it off, and apparently it's like an emergency button for when people get stuck in the wheelchair lift. Fire trucks show up, and we had to go into the office and get someone to come help, and there was a fire truck that showed up because he called the fire station or something. He said to pull out the button, that was all it was, to deactivate it. You just pull it out, would have canceled the call, would have turned off the beeping and everything. Oops. Next, my first show at high school, Beauty and the Beast. Among other things, I was a broom in the castle, you know? And I had a really embarrassing costume. It was all gold and shiny. I had a weird hat. I had to carry dustpans. The worst part of the costume, I had to wear a huge, golden, glittery grass skirt. And I tried to make the most of it, you know, made jokes about sweeping girls off their feet and all that. During tech rehearsal, though, we had to, we were frozen on stage while they worked on lighting. I wasn't really paying attention to anything, so I kind of start hula dancing. You know, I've got a grass skirt, I've moved my hips, you know, nothing big. And a couple of the seniors from off stage start laughing at me, asking me to do it again, and do it one more time. At that point, I hear laughter coming from the house. It turns out my drama teacher was just sitting there with the tech director, laughing their heads off over how big of an idiot I looked. My life. 3 minutes, or 2 more minutes, okay, I'm gonna hurry this up. Maybe it won't go, I'm just gonna go. Next, I was in Pollution Solution, a children's theater show about talking trash. I was a Mountain Dew bottle. You've probably seen pictures. If not, ask for them. They're pretty funny. And I had a Jamaican accent, red and green makeup. I'm really tall, in case you guys didn't know, 6'2", and really skinny, so I look kind of like, although my costume was basically a felt dress. I don't know how intimidating that is. But after the show, we'd go outside and meet all the kids, because it was a kids show. The kids would come during school field trips and such. And I went to high-five this one kid, because we were like in a row, everyone's walking by high-fiving. I bend over, go to high-five this kid. He starts screaming and crying and thinks I'm about to hit him and runs off. And I felt so horrible. But at the same time, it was kind of really funny because I thought he was just screaming because of my face. Yeah, and that was that. Later that year, I was in the school musical Crazy For You. It's a Gershwin show. And which story should I go? Okay. We had a fight scene. I love stage combat. And I always go really all out with it. So at one point I was supposed to get basically shot and fall over on a table. The problem was I'll land on the table and it'll be straight onto my chest. And then like my arms would be around it. So like the table would be right here and here. So, you know, not a good place if it fell over. And naturally, every night, the table fell over. And it would just kind of start going like this. I didn't want to break character, so I just kept falling and falling. I'd slam on the ground, and it would basically nearly tear my arm off, squash this arm, and put huge stress and impact on my chest. And that actually has caused me severe rib problems, and it's been the cause of my illness for the last 2 years. And I still have not gotten over it. I'm still being treated for it. And that's sophomore year. Last show I've been in was Fiddler on the Roof. Oh boy, what story to go with for Fiddler on the Roof? wow, I can't really think of a story for Fiddler on the Roof. It's 10 minutes. I'm going to cut it here, and I'm just going to give you my Fiddler on the Roof story in my next video. So I will talk to you guys next week. Subscribe to our channel because you'll see Jenna in 3 days or possibly 2 days. And she is very fabulous, and you definitely want to see that and listen to her accent. Alright, goodbye guys. Thanks for watching my 10.5 minute video. And yeah, see ya.